Derby Wars, racing's biggest contest site, is now even bigger with more than 200 games every day. Check out Survivor, Derby Wars' hottest new game. It's fun, easy to play, and for just $4 you could win $1,000. Just pick a horse to finish first, second, or third and advance to the next race. With daily payouts and games starting every hour, you'll see why fans are racing to play Survivor. Go to DerbyWars.com now, use promo code Survivor to get 5 free Survivor games with your first deposit.
Welcome to another edition of Horse Center, everyone. I am Brian Zipsey, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman.
Hi, Brian. How are you? And the Preakness is done, and now we're heading to New York. We're heading to my home field.
Doing well, Matt. I'll be out there in New York to join you in about 2.5 weeks for the Belmont Stakes. By the way, Matt, we're gonna run down the Preakness here. But some people are disappointed that there's no Triple Crown on the line. But I think this Belmont Stakes could be shaping up very well.
Yeah, no question about it, Brian. Even though it has become routine that we've been heading to Belmont with Triple Crown on the line for the last few years, it's unrealistic to think that that's going to happen every year. And yeah, it's shaping up to be a good Belmont. I mean, a day or so ago, people were calling it the duel for the third jewel. So we'll see what happens.
I like it, Matt. Of course, we're talking about this, folks, because of Exaggerator's big win in the Preakness Stakes. Now, Matt, as the day went on, as the week went on, I think things were conspiring a little bit to benefit Exaggerator and maybe make life just a little bit harder on Nyquist. Not only did the undefeated Kentucky Derby winner have an X on his back as the undefeated Kentucky Derby winner, but I think the confluence of a lot of speed horses entering the Preakness, as well as the rains from the heavens coming down Friday night, Saturday morning, and even Saturday before the race, made this a race that looked like it was possibly setting up for Exaggerator.
Without question, Brian, as it got closer and the weather and everything like that, I know in the multi-race wagers I was using Nyquist and I was using Exaggerator. There's no question about it that he probably had the best shot that he's had at any race against Nyquist in the Preakness.
Yeah, and for the same reason, Matt, I was playing only 3 horses, Exaggerator, Nyquist, and Cherry Wine, partly because of the odds, but yeah, partly because of the setup. Cherry Wine being another rallier who had proven that he could handle a wet track, and so it played out, Matt. Although it played out, I think, with some questions. We need to talk about the ride that Mario Gutierrez gave to Nyquist in this Kentucky Derby, especially from the starting gate until the first turn.
Yeah, Brian. If we go back to last week's show, Brian, when you and I talked about how we saw the race setting up, and I think you and I both were absolutely convinced that the race was going to play with Nyquist breaking alertly from the gate, which he did once again. He's so wonderful out of the gate. But then you and I both expected that they were going to let Nyquist settle behind all of these speed horses, kind of run a race similar to what he ran in the Kentucky Derby. And if you want to go back a little bit further, maybe even resembling a little bit more the race he ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But, Brian, that's not what happened. Gutierrez did not settle his horse off the pace. The first quarter was the fastest in the history of the Preakness. I guess he could have settled back a little bit after that, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, Matt, I think there was a few things going on here, and of course, Doug O'Neill, the trainer of Nyquist, after the race, said it's my fault. I told him to go. That might speak to a little bit of overconfidence from the Nyquist camp. I mean, they had every reason to be confident in their horse, but maybe to put him into a situation that was not best for the horse was a mistake. Let's call it what it is, and I think it was a mistake. I think he ran too fast the first quarter. He was in between Uncle on his inside, Awesome Speed on his outside, and they wanted to go to the lead. Nyquist didn't have to be between them running the fastest Preakness first quarter in history. Now, it should be said, a lot of people have talked about Exaggerator moving closer and closer on the backstretch, but it should be noted that Nyquist did slow down the pace. The second quarter and the third quarter were not fast. It wasn't a fast track at Pimlico, but the damage probably had already been done. And while he was slowing down that pace, which allowed horses, especially like Exaggerator, to move quite a bit closer on the backstretch, he still had horses right at him. Uncle the whole way, and for quite a bit of the way, Awesome Speed and a fourth horse to the outside. So Nyquist, I think it was too late to try to slow down the pace, and horses breathing down your neck, even if you're not going super fast, is always tough. So I think Nyquist did have a tough trip in here. Let's take nothing away from the performance of Exaggerator, though, Matt, and jockey Kent Desormeaux.
Yeah, and a couple things, Brian. One, and we've talked about this in other races. It isn't always how fast the quarters are going. And like you said, Brian, that first quarter certainly did some damage. But it's that you have horses on your flanks pressuring you, and you can't relax. And you know, and I'm gonna beg to differ about the word confidence a little bit with the O'Neill camp. To me, sending Nyquist out to battle the leaders is not a show of confidence in their horse. A show of confidence in their horse is that he can sit off those early leaders and make a move and run a wise, smart race that he has done in the past. To me, that was a lack of confidence going out there and knocking heads with those horses that we full well know were going to quit. And they did, Brian. They all quit.
Yeah, I do disagree with you on this point, Matt, because I think it was a confidence. I think it was an overconfidence. Two things I'll make a point here. First off, O'Neill said, send him. That's what he said to Gutierrez, or that's what he said that's what he told everyone after. He said, send him, because I thought deep down he thought Nyquist wasn't going to lose this race, and he didn't want to get trapped. He didn't want to have a bad trip where he's blocked or something. He thought he could win no matter what. And the simplest way to do that is to send the favorite, send the odds-on favorite out to the lead. So I think there was a bit of overconfidence in that thinking. Now, there's another question, and it goes back to Mario Gutierrez. O'Neill says send him. Where does Gutierrez say, wait a minute, this is not working out the best for the horse? Maybe I change those instructions a little bit. And it seemed like Gutierrez did what O'Neill told him to do, regardless of what was unfolding in the race. I think that's a mistake by a jockey who should know better.
Yeah, especially when you're on a horse like Nyquist. It was only an 11-horse field, and Nyquist is not the kind of horse that gets in trouble. I mean, Brian, has the horse ever really had any trouble in a race? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a jockey, but I think if I'm riding Nyquist and Mario's on him, he's got to know that he's going to be able to find a way through when those horses are tiring in an 11-horse field with the kind of talent that Nyquist has. And not to take anything away from Exaggerator, like you said, Brian, he ran a great race and made that kind of move that we're getting used to seeing from Exaggerator. And I don't know. I think if Nyquist had stayed off of the pace, it would have been one heck of a battle down the stretch.
Yeah, Matt, we are going to agree on the fact that neither of us feel that Nyquist got the best chance to win the race, and that's kind of a shame. Yeah, credit due to Exaggerator. Exaggerator is a horse that has run a few races a little bit odd earlier in the year, but his last 3 races are gigantic, Matt. The Santa Anita Derby, he beat good horses just for absolute fun, sloppy track. In the Kentucky Derby on a fast track with a little bit of traffic coming from 17th early, he was clearly second best, making a big rally, an explosive turn of foot as he has. Nothing wrong with his Derby performance. And then this Preakness, he did everything perfectly. He relaxed early. He was able to steer towards the rail to kind of stay away from a lot of horses who are off the rail. He moved up kindly as the pace slowed down on the backstretch, and then he just had plenty of horse at the key moment as they were coming out of the far turn and into the stretch. Desormeaux knew he was fine by letting his horse drift out wide. He brought him out wide, off the rail, quickly 3, 4, 5 wide to go around Nyquist. Huge performance by Exaggerator. He deserved to win the race. I don't want any of this Nyquist talk about maybe not getting the best ride or the best trip in the Preakness to take away from Exaggerator. The rivalry is on, Matt. Exaggerator is for real. He's proven that in his last 3 races. And hopefully we will see these 2 horses again several times, maybe even the Belmont Stakes. Matt, I should mention that breaking news from the Nyquist camp. It's reported by Dave Grenning of DRF. Nyquist did spike a fever. They're going to do blood work on him. Now, remember, he had a high white blood cell count when he first traveled to Keeneland. Although this time it's not after travel, it was before travel. It was after a tough Preakness. So we need to keep an eye on Nyquist. For the very least, his travel plans early to Belmont have been nixed, and he's going to wait a little while at Pimlico before heading up to Belmont Park.
Yeah, that certainly throws a monkey wrench in there, and who knows? Maybe some people will start saying that maybe Nyquist wasn't at 100% because he spiked a fever. Now maybe he had something brewing a couple days ago. Who knows? But not much time, Brian, with 3 weeks to the Belmont. Sure hope it goes away quickly like happened when he shipped into Keeneland.
Yeah, we can hope for that, Matt. On the other hand, we do want both horses 100% if they're going to meet for the 6th time in the Belmont Stakes. It's setting up as a good race. Exaggerator, I think, is the favorite no matter who's in there, whether Nyquist is in or not. But we're going to have horses from the Preakness. Cherry Wine is coming back in the Belmont. Lani, that Japanese wonder horse, I want to call him, making up quite a bit of ground to be 5th, will be back in the Belmont. Stradivari, I probably don't think he's going to go. We haven't heard anything firm on him. And then you have a bunch of Derby horses laying in wait for these horses in the Belmont, such as Sudden Breaking News, Destin, possibly Creator, maybe Mo Tom. The New York bred Governor Malibu, I thought, ran a very good race in the Peter Pan. I would expect he's much more likely to make the Belmont field than the winner, Unified. But hopefully Nyquist will be in there. Hopefully Nyquist will be 100% and ready. Touch and go right now with the news of this morning. But it's an interesting field for the Belmont nonetheless, I think.
Yeah, on a Belmont Stakes day that has just such an amazing card, just to get people thinking about it. Remember, 9 stakes races, 6 Grade 1 races, 4 races with a purse over $1 million. It's like the Breeders' Cup, Brian, but in the middle of the year.
Yeah, $4 million races in one day, Matt. That you know, I can't miss this. The Belmont the people from NYRA have put together a great 2 days of racing, especially the Belmont Stakes Day. Matt, Frosted in the Met Mile. You heard it here first. I'm always going to be on the Frosted bandwagon, but I think the Met Mile might be a great setup for my favorite horse, Frosted. All right, Matt. So Preakness, Exaggerator turns the tables, wins his first race against Nyquist in 5 tries, and he does it in a classic. He does it in the Preakness. Very interesting. But there were other big stories, I think more so on Friday than the undercard on Saturday. Friday had some big performances and 2 very different horses. I'm talking about a filly, a 3-year-old filly who's only had 4 lifetime races versus a 10-year-old warrior who's run 55 times, winning 32 of them.
2 terrific stories, Brian. And if you want to start, we can talk about the Black-Eyed Susan first, where Dale Romans had what an amazing day he had with the first 2 finishers in the Black-Eyed Susan. And Go Maggie Go, a tremendous, tremendous performance from a horse that had showed an awful lot of talent in her first 2 starts. And another wonderful, wonderful 3-year-old filly, Brian. What a division to go along with Songbird and Karina Mia and Catherine Sophia. My goodness, imagine if we could get the 3 of them in one race, Brian. But Dale Romans got the win, and then a long shot bomber of his in second place. Dale was a little bit excited after the race.
Ma Can Do It got a photo finish for second. There were several horses behind Go Maggie Go. Go Maggie Go, though, was a clear-cut winner. Yeah, Dale Romans first in the Black Eyed Susan, second in the Black Eyed Susan, and just got up for second in the Preakness. Big weekend for Big Dale, and Dale collected a $50,000 trainer bonus for the best performance of the weekend. So not bad for Dale. But yeah, we got to start talking about Go Maggie Go. You mentioned Songbird, Catherine Sophia. We both think Karina Mia is very talented. I wouldn't forget about Rachel's Valentina just yet. But Go Maggie Go ran a big race in the Kentucky Oaks. She really had trouble. She was farther back than she wanted to be. She came flying, was close to getting second at the wire. A few more jumps, she's second, and that was only her third Lifetime race. Today, on Friday, she employed a totally different style. Luis Saez said there just wasn't much speed. She went to the lead, and she was unstoppable, winning impressively. I had her singled in my pick 5. That brought me a little bit of a windfall. That's always nice, too. But we need to see more from this talented filly by Go Zapper. That's Go Maggie Go. And then earlier in the card, there was Ben's Cat, Matt. What were you thinking when Ben's Cat made that last-ditch effort between horses to get up and win his 5th straight Jim McKay?
I was thinking, thank goodness for Ben's Cat, Brian, because I think both of us in our pick 5s, we had 2 horses in the race. We had the Speedball in there who was running a great race, but then you could see was not going to be there at the finish. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, I'm getting knocked out of the pick 5. And then here comes Ben's Cat. Enough of our pick 5s, Brian. Ben's Cat, come on. 10 years old to make a move like that, to come between horses and win the Jim McKay. Was it for the 5th time, Brian, in his career?
God. 5 Jim McKays. This horse, I'm smiling ear to ear here, Matt, in Kentucky. This horse is just something else. 32 wins. He's been doing it for about 7 years now. 10 years old. He looks as good as ever. That was a monster performance. He never had a ton of room, and the Rocket from California had the lead the whole way. Looked like a winner. Spring to the Sky was running on the outside. Ben says, no worries. Once he found a little room between horses, he just surged for the wire. Matt, you can't tell me this horse doesn't know where the wire is. You can't tell me this horse doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame like his legendary 80-something-year-old trainer, King Leatherberry. Ben's Cat, what a horse. One of my favorite performances on a long list of great Ben's Cat performances.
Yeah, and it's really special because I'll be honest, at the end of his racing season last year, I was starting to wonder if time had caught up to the amazing Ben's Cat. It was fair to start thinking that, and he came back and looked good in his allowance win, but the man was back at Pimlico again.
Sprinting version, Matt, the sprinting version, I'm going to throw this out, of John Henry. Ben's Cat, what a horse. King Leatherberry, always been a top-notch trainer, but it's nice to have probably his best horse ever at these later stages of his training career. Matt, before we go, I did want to mention, I want to give a shout-out to NBC Sports. NBC Sports has signed a exclusive deal with Royal Ascot to bring Royal Ascot to American fans. It'll start next year. As of now, I think it's a live streaming several days in a row, 5 days, 3 or 4 hours of coverage every day. So it'll be on the computer, but still, I think this is a wonderful news, wonderful way to bring us super racing from Ascot every summer in June, and it's also making the world of horse racing a smaller place, which is a good thing, Matt Schiffman.
I agree with you, Brian. I wish it was this year so we could see the wonderful tap-in on national TV, but we can watch her on our laptops.
That's right. Tap-in Miss Temple City, undrafted. Ascot has become a bit of a playground for American horses of late. Wesley Ward, of course, so that'll be fun. Nice to see NBC opening up the world a little bit more to racing fans. Matt, Horse Center will be back next week, and we'll be talking more Exaggerator and Nyquist. We're going to be talking more about the Belmont Stakes, which is now just 19 days away. It's June 11 at Belmont Park. I'm going to be there with you. I can't wait, my friend.
I'm looking forward to hanging out with you at beautiful Belmont Park.
There you go. Thanks to our wonderful producer, Ember Marr, as always, and our wonderful sponsor, the best tournament site out there, Derby Wars. Thank you, Matt.
And thank you, Ember Marr.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next week on Horse Center.